Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. It is Thursday night, I'm tired as hell, but it's a good time to get a video up, so I want to ramble about modified knives. And this is something that had actually been on my, bucket list or video list for a while. But in the last, I think, rant video, a viewer requested that I talk about, modified knives or modding knives, and it's actually a really good topic. Because there's certain considerations, things that you want to think about as you are a new collector or a seasoned collector or new to knives or any of those things. So hopefully there's some useful information in here. In other news, I had my first knife video demonetized by YouTube today. So honestly, not terribly surprising. I wouldn't be shocked if at some point all knife videos are demonetized. So I didn't do any weird tags, there was nothing violent about the video, just talking about some custom knives. So, yeah, honestly, it is what it is. I have no control over the situation. It's not like I was really getting much in the way from YouTube anyway, maybe like $100 a month on average, so that doesn't even cover one of the knives in front of me. So it is what it is. I'm not going to do Patreon or any of those things. I don't want to ask for money from people so that I can buy more knives. It was never in the plan, so to speak. So yeah, alright, so getting back to modified knives. So tell you guys a story. This might sound like a familiar story to a lot of you, but when I started buying knives many years ago, I started off with, your entry-level production knives. I think the Spyderco Tenacious was my first knife that I bought. I think it had just come out. And, I could justify the price at the time. It made sense, a good quality knife. I think it was like $35. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then I remember at some point I was staring at a Gale Bradley, and it was like $120, and I was just like thinking, man, $100 for a knife, like that's crazy, And I was having a conversation with my best friend about it, and he's like, it's a waste of money, don't do it. And of course I did it, and the point of the story is we all go through this escalation period, going from the most entry-level, budget knives up to, handmade, one-off, custom knives at whatever the hell price point you want to get into. And somewhere along that journey, I discovered the joys of knife modification, of having people modify knives, make them special, make them unique. And for a while, I was probably having, at least half of my knives modified, acid stonewash blade, anodize the handle some cool colors or something. And I did that for a long time, or it felt like a long time, and I spent a lot of money doing it. And so what I want to talk about in regard to modifications is a couple of things. One, I think we all go through that period where we're looking for something unique and special, but we just can't really justify, the cost or the amount of energy it takes to, acquire like a handmade one-off custom knife. And that is one of the appeals of custom knives, is it's something unique, something special. Whether you buy it from the maker or it's made specifically for you, it has that intangible draw to it, something that's uniquely ours. We do the same thing with our homes. We make our homes uniquely ours. Sometimes people do it with their cars. You can spend some exorbitant amounts of money modifying your cars. But the thing that happens with cars, maybe less so with homes, and especially with knives, is that the money you dump into modifying them is simply wasted money. Now that's not to say that I don't think that you shouldn't modify knives. I think there's a caveat in there, and so let's talk about that. But first, what are the three knives in front of me and how are they modified? So among my collection, which is, over 60 knives or so, I only have 3 that are modified, so it's a very small number of knives. So the first one is Liangma Warrior 2. It was given a kind of a purple, bronze, blue type of finish by Fanatic Edge. Changes colors a lot. Oils definitely change the color a lot. It's one of those things with anodizing for the most part. So this one was anodized, no other changes. This is the Benchmade, I want to say 781, the Anthem. Their new integral axis lock folder, very, very much like it. And this one was given a custom Timascus pocket clip by my friend Adam Purvis, or A Purvis Blades. And the, obviously this is a very aesthetic upgrade, a nice piece of polished Timascus on here. But actually it's a functional upgrade because this pocket clip functions better than the stock clip or standard clip, which was the reason that I had Adam make it for me. And yeah, it's nice. It looks really cool. It's an upgrade or a modification of sorts, but it's obviously more functional too, which is the most important component of it. The shiny blinginess is just an added bonus. And last but not least, the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with titanium Flytanium scales. So the company's Flytanium. They make upgrade and parts. They're well known for balisong upgrades, things like that. But they do these really cool titanium scales for the Para 2. So that's another upgrade. So again, these are the only ones I've had for a long time. I did a lot of anodizing, a lot of acid stonewash blades. And those mods would honestly cost anywhere from 40 bucks to maybe 80 bucks, if you're doing everything to it. And the thing was, I would get a brand new knife in, I'd have it for like a couple days, and then I would send it off to be modified because I had to have something unique. I had to have something different, Hopefully you guys are better about it, but that's what I did for a while. I was sending everything off to be modified. And the problem was, well, one of two things. One, I eventually got burned by a knife modifier. He stole like 350 bucks from me, and he disappeared. Of course, he stole money from a lot of people. And so if he ever pops his head back up again, he's definitely going to hear from me. But I'm just going to think of it as a lost, it's lost at this point. Not going to worry too much about it, but he comes back around, there will be blood. So, anyways. So for a while, having a lot of things modified, eventually I got burned. So a couple things you want to keep in mind is that among the people who have taken money from knife enthusiasts and disappeared, knife modifiers are probably number one on that list. There have been more modifiers that have come up, taken a whole bunch of orders, got in over their head, may have been very talented, and then they disappear with a bunch of people's money and you never hear from them again. So that's the one caveat. You have to be very careful who you recruit to modify knives for you, and you really have to do your due diligence, and you kind of have to do the deep dives in the forums, make sure there isn't, there's always going to be someone who's unhappy or doesn't like the work, but you want to make sure there's not like 50 people or 20 people. It's like, hey, he took my money, I haven't heard from him in months. So be very careful in that regard. So that's one problem. It's a good place to get burned. The second problem is that all the knives that I modified over the years, I don't own any of them anymore. And some of them I got some really cool like custom scales for, like my Benchmades, anodizing, stonewashing, maybe upgrade like the bearings and stuff. And I didn't end up keeping any of them because I modified them too early. So my advice to you guys is, don't modify or upgrade knives until you already know that it's an absolute keeper. And so for me, the Leonmar Warrior 2 is one of my favorite knife designs. I think it's just so well executed. I plan on keeping this one for, I have no plans to sell it at all, hopefully ever, but you never know. So that's why I modified this one. The Benchmade, again, I think it's the model 781. It doesn't even say. I'm a huge fan of integrals, and I don't want to get rid of any of my integrals. And so, the functional benefit of the clip was a worthwhile upgrade for a knife that I have no plans of getting rid of. Now the Para 2, you guys have heard me talk about this one a lot. I got this one for you guys so that I could do, various size comparisons, but I just wanted something a little bit different than the Para 2, and, Blade HQ is right down the street from me, so just wandered in there and picked one of these up. And I really like it. I think it has a better feel and a better weight in the hand to it. But this one was completely unnecessary, to be honest. I just, if I was going to be forced forced to get a para 2. I wanted to get something a little bit different. So here's the thing. As time has gone on, you know, I've moved from just production knives to, you know, top tier production knives. I think this one's a great example of a, you know, very expensive top tier production knife. And eventually I landed in custom knives. So like this one here, this is the Shane Atwood like medium-sized atomic model. Here I have the Sam Johnston Navaja. Beautiful custom knives, very, very well made. And I finally get my fix here. I want to have something unique. I want to have something completely different. I want to have something built to my specs, like my Navaja here. Or, you know, perhaps it's like this atomic that he built a couple years ago and I just came across it, you know, via another collector. But I mean, these, you know, these and my other customs have kind of satisfied that itch of having something unique and different without going out and modifying just a crap ton of production knives. And looking back, I blew a lot of money modifying production knives on knives that I didn't end up keeping because I modified them too soon. You know, I didn't wait until it was an absolute keeper, which is really what you need to do. Or, you know, the rule of thumb that people don't ever want to follow is, you know, save up for that piece that you really, really want and stop buying a bunch of substitutes along the way, which is what we do with a lot of things. I've done it with watches for a very, very long time. I've done it with knives for a very long time. But when you finally get to that point, you know, maybe it's through buying and selling after 4 or 5 years, maybe you get that first custom. I think that'll scratch that itch for you. So now, some of the good things about modifying is, again, you might make something uniquely your own, or as I talked about in the Para 2 video, looking at these scales, you know, perhaps you've had a Para 2 for 5 years. You love the knife, it's your absolute favorite, you know that you'll always have a Para 2, but maybe you're looking to make it unique or a little bit different. You kind of want to fall back in love with the knife. That's what modifying does sometimes. You know, if it's again, a model you think, hey, I'm never going to sell that one, I want to, you know, I want to keep it. Maybe I need to reignite the romance or the infatuation. Maybe that's where modifying it makes it feel like a completely new knife, but you know, you're not having to go out and buy a completely new knife. So those are some different thoughts, some different things to keep in mind. Again, that was kind of my journey as, you know, entry production, you know, mid-tier, modifying a crap ton of stuff, getting to very high-end production knives before moving into customs. I mean, that was probably a 4-year process, maybe more, as I kind of segued. And a lot of you guys are probably somewhere in that process right now. So again, a couple rules of thumb are: 1, wait until you know it's an absolute keeper. That should probably be a couple months. 2, do your research. Make sure that that modifier is legit and solid as of the last, you know, month or two, because they could be legit and solid, and then, you know, the last month or two they take an absolute turn for the worst, and moving forward everyone's getting screwed. So be careful, do your research, ask your friends, do deep dives on the forums, whatever it is. 3, stop blowing money looking for substitutes and really just save up and get that, you know, that custom piece you want, if that's your goal. I mean, it may not be for everyone, but somewhere deep down I kind of suspect that it is. I think we all kind of want something truly special and unique for us, and for a lot of us that is a custom knife. Might be a specific custom knife, might just be any custom knife, might be a specific maker, whatever it is. Honestly, like, just bite the bullet, save for longer, you know, liquidate a bunch of pieces or sell a bunch of pieces if you have to free up the funds, and then, you know, finally acquire that custom piece. And if you're lucky, you might pick up that custom piece and be like, you know what, it wasn't what I expected, I'm happy with my production knives, and you'll be better served in the long run for it. But if you're like most of us, you get that first custom piece, you're like, this is awesome, you go out, you buy way too many of them, and then you slowly start to throttle back, and you know, things change a little bit from there. So you know, it's interesting as I've, again, the longer I've had customs in my collection, I used to want to try everyone's custom pieces, and perhaps this is probably a separate rant, but there's a lot of trust that has to exist between a customer and a custom maker, because they are the company, they are the warranty, they are the quality control, they are everything. So if you don't have a good relationship with the person you're buying a knife from, or you don't know them well enough, you're taking on a lot of risks. So as time has gone on, instead of buying a whole bunch of different custom makers, I've actually gravitated towards just a few select, and I keep picking up pieces from them because that trust exists, and the consistency, the quality, the warranty, it's all there, and that is absolutely essential with custom knives. I think I'm going to have to do a separate rant on that and really kind of delve into why you're buying the maker more than you're buying the knife, which, again, I've seen people call stupid, but those people honestly have not bought enough custom knives to know what they're talking about. So, separate rant. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let's cut it off there. I need to do a lot more videos. I need to find the time to do it. So, hopefully I don't get everything else demonetized, but it is what it is. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night and take care.